Hello everybody, welcome back to another postseason pod episode. Today we are doing way too early NHL predictions for this upcoming 2026-2027 season. In this video, I'm going to have 10 quick predictions ranging from end of the year awards to the playoffs to even the All-Star break to just go right through, because I'm sure for you guys it is the same for me. We're kind of missing the NHL here. We're getting NFL training camp videos, no NHL. Kind of bummed out about it, missing it a little bit. So here are 10 quick predictions to help get us back into the groove, back in the mood for the upcoming NHL season. Without further ado, number one, I think Ivar Stenberg is going to win the Calder Trophy. Yes, did he go first overall? No, he didn't. Yes, is McKenna more vital right now to a rebuilding Toronto Maple Leafs team? Possibly. You can make the argument. Is McKenna more skilled? Again, you can make the argument. Personally, to me, I think Ivar Stenberg is more important to the San Jose Sharks' growing pains, if you will, sort of team, bringing in contracts like Darnell Nurse and Jacob Trouba. I think Ivar Stenberg is going to be lower on the depth charts in San Jose, just the way the lines work, and I think that's going to go to his benefit playing against, third line, second line guys, and I think his skill is really going to show during those matchups. I also think Gavin McKenna, because he'll be first line, power play, first line, everything, might struggle in the beginning of the year, whereas Ivar Stenberg, I think, is going to hit the ground running. I also think he can just be a crucial part for the San Jose team because of that depth. I think he'll probably start on a third line or second line with either Wenberg and Kiefer Sherwood, I think, on that third line, or second line with Mason Marchment and Colin Graff, who just had a nice contract extension for himself there. But either way, that's the prediction one. Number two, we're going to get into, from now on, starting with two, we're going to get into some of the end of the year awards, just because they were easy to just hammer out first. So my second prediction is for the Art Ross. I'm going Nathan McKinnon finally wins the Art Ross. This 25-26, he lost by 11 points. The year before that, he lost by 5 points. And then 3 years ago, he lost by 4 points. The year before that, 40 points, yada, 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 etc. The point is, Nathan McKinnon is a machine. He's an animal. He's a great swimmer. Point is, he's always in the top 5, if not top 3 in points in the NHL. And to me personally, I think he's the best player in the NHL. And I think it's just about time that he's going to finally get the monkey off his back, if you will, and win the Art Ross Trophy. Wow, my English. Also, it's important to mention this is also an 84-game season, so could we see some potential records being broken or some new scoring landmarks, I guess? Austin Matthews just shy of 70 goals a few years back, 84 games. Will we see someone get to that 70-goal mark? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. Number three. I think Ilya Sorokin, another one, finally get the monkey off the back. Ilya Sorokin will finally win the Vezina Trophy. This year he comes up short. He had 51 points to Andrei Vasilevsky's 114 points. This is also the second time he came runner-up. He previously came runner-up to Linus Ullmark in the 2022-23 season. He had a great year this year, Sorokin. The Islanders just fell short of the playoffs. Even he said in an interview today, he was like, I was surprised I was even on the podium because the Islanders didn't make the playoffs. But I think he might have won it if the Islanders went to the playoffs, but also because David Rittich, the Islanders' backup goaltender last year, was awful. And the last month and a half of the season, Sorokin was clearly tired. And they tried to play Rittich, and it wasn't going well. And because the Islanders were in a desperate position of trying to make the playoffs, they couldn't afford to play Rittich because he was so bad. So they had to play Sorokin, who was clearly getting more and more tired, more and more overworked. And his numbers kind of, derailed a little bit towards the last half of the year. He still ended with a .915 save percentage and a 2.6 goals against. He's also, ever since coming over to the NHL, has had above a .90 save percentage and has only graced 3 goals against one time in his career. Number 4. The Jack Adams, I think, will be Paul Maurice. I think this is a quick prediction. I think this is self-explanatory. We're seeing a healthy Barkov. They bring in Jacob Markstrom. Team's a little different. They bring in Brady Tkachuk. I think this team is going to go right back to the playoffs, and I think Paul Maurice is very easily going to bring this team back to the playoffs, and I think he'll win the award because of that. Kind of in a similar note to when we're no longer talking about end of the season awards, thankfully. I know, good for me getting those, putting those predictions 1 through 4. But I think we saw this last year with, hey Ace, it's Bones here, or hey Bones, it's Ace here. I think the NHL is transitioning to this sort of what we see in the Premier League, how managers get fired or sacked mid-year and then they bring in another one because of their position. They weren't where they were meant to be. We saw this with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and even with Tortorella with 8 games left in the year for Vegas, helping them make sure they get into the playoffs and then turn their postseason into the Stanley Cup rather than what could have been a first-round exit under Bruce Cassidy. But going back to Rick Bowness, Columbus Blue Jackets were struggling. They were supposed to be a lot better. They could have been a lot better. It depends, right? It doesn't matter. They became a lot better under that January transition because January, there's still a lot of games left in NHL. And I think this is exactly what we're going to see going into this year as well. I think some teams, maybe like Utah with Andre Tournique, Lindy Ruff with the Buffalo Sabres, they are a team that always starts slow. Even last year, they started slow. And then Detroit Red Wings, they fired Stevie Y. Clearly, no one has patience in the front office, the players with Dylan Larkin, and I'm sure the fans in Motown as well. So maybe Todd McClellan is on the hot seat. But I could totally see these teams come January who feel like they should be in better positions or higher up in the standings, making a coaching change. Prediction number 6. I'll put it up on screen, but the NHL this year, if you watch a lot of the games, you notice that overtimes and shootouts were constantly happening. And this is because we were at, we matched an all-time high in the salary cap era at close to 26% of games going into overtime and shootouts. I don't think this will be the case this year. I think a lot of time last season, coaches were just telling their guys on the bench, what 5 minutes ago, play for the point. Play for the point. It was very tight in the East, very tight in that Pacific garbage dumpster fire of a division over there. So I think a lot of coaches are just playing for points, and I think we're going to see that number drop. Maybe not down to 20%, but at least down to 22, 21%. I just don't think players are going to have the patience anymore for OTs, and I think it's just sometimes that's how trends work, right? They just go up and down like waves, and I think we're going to get right back to normality, if you will, at the 21% mark. Number 7, this is my all-star prediction. I really don't want this to be true, but the New York Islanders have a chance to tie a 2008 record, which was 18 years ago, by the way, for quick math, by the Atlanta Flames, that they could match the least number of representatives in an all-star game when the home team hosted it. So in 2008, Atlanta Thrashers hosted the all-star event, sending 1 player as a representative. We see today, 2018 Tampa, they send 4 guys: Vazzy, Hedman, Stamkos, Kucherov. Predators, 2016, it was Shea Weber and Pecorine. All these home representing teams get to send 2 to 4 guys usually. And I think this year, because of the way that they changed the All-Star game, they made it like that 4 nations tournament split. I think the Islanders are going to get shafted. I think 1 player is probably going to get voted in. It'll probably be Schaefer. And I unfortunately think they're going to tie that record over the 1 representative. But it's kind of annoying because, to me, Sorokin, I think, should make it, but he might not, because there's, in the East Coast alone, Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, and who knows, maybe even Jeremy Swayman to fight up against. And then I think Matt Barzal is one of the best players to watch, and to not have him in an all-star game is kind of crazy to me. So if it was up to me sending representatives for the Islanders, it'd be Sorokin, Schaefer, and Matt Barzal. But like I said, I think they're going to match the 2008 record and only send 1 representative, being Matthew Schaefer. Now, this is moving on to the more playoff-oriented predictions, starting with number 8. I think the conference finals are going to be Utah and Dallas versus Carolina and Florida. I think we're finally going to get that matchup out east. that we've been kind of dying for and so many people are predicting. Number 9, I think Carolina will not go back-to-back. As much as I don't like Carolina, they did finally get over the hump. They did win the Stanley Cup in their man-on-man system. They led the league in Corsi, which is, just they shoot the puck like no one. Like, it's ridiculous how many times they shoot the puck from wherever they are on the ice. But I have 3 kind of like prongs, if you will, that led me to this prediction. One, they got really lucky with Brandon Bussi. Righty goalies, I don't think they're good at all. Granted, cool story, good for him, got a little money. Will he be as good this year? I don't know. To me, I don't think righty goalies are good, so it doesn't matter. I also just don't think, Brandon Bussi or not, Kochetkov coming in cold into that Stanley Cup would have never worked after he was out the whole year anyway. And then next year, teams have film guys. They can watch this playoff film and they can realize that the first 3 games when Carolina played the Flyers and the first 3 games in the Vegas series, if you don't fall into Carolina's trap of how they want you to play, they're a very beatable team. Like I said, we saw this with Philly in the first 3 games. Granted, they lost all 3, but they could have won the first 2. We saw this with Vegas. They fell into the trap in the latter stages, and again, Brandon Bussi came in and saved them. I also think this year in the postseason, everything kind of fell into place for them. The Metro was a very easy division. They made quick work of the Ottawa Senators. They made quick work of Philly. They made quick work of Montreal, who I think were the easiest opponent they could get out of the top of the bracket. I think Buffalo would have been a much harder series for them, and I think even Tampa would have been a much harder series. Granted, they still won. Granted, they still play a hard game. Granted, is it as easy as I'm making it seem by other teams shutting them down? No, whatsoever. Do I think they'll repeat? Going back to my prediction, no, I do not think they'll repeat, but I do think they'll meet the Florida Panthers in the conference final. Moving into my 10th and final prediction of the video, I think the Stanley Cup. Also, let me just go back to number 9. I think Utah is going to be an unbelievable team this year, but that will come up in another video soon. I guess might as well speak about it. I have 2 videos that I'm probably going to do soon. It's a question I've been thinking about a lot. One of them is, what's more important for a front office / GM, the eye test or data analytics like the John Chaikas of today? And I kind of go through a lot of research that I did to find what's the best ratio to be on either side. So that was really fun to look into because I was just curious myself what I would end up choosing or end up finding rather. And then the second one is just ranking every team going into the 26-27 season, cup champion, cup contenders, playoffs, needs time, and do not watch list. So those are going to be fun to do. But let's get back into the 10th and final prediction here. I think the Stanley Cup, Dallas Stars versus the Florida Panthers. And I do think Dallas is going to win. Is it bias? Yes. Not much more to say than that. Moving on swiftly. I do like Dallas's 4th line better than Florida's. I also do like Dallas's D pairs better than Florida's. Is that bias? Yes. But, again, moving on swiftly. Thomas Harley needs a bounce back here. I think he'll get it. Rupe Hintz hurt into this postseason. He'll be healthy. Tyler Seguin, he comes back healthy. Jamie Benn on the cheap for 1 year, $875K. Jason Robertson, 1 year, $12 million. So they're also now, do they have a lot of guys that are going to have bounce back years? Yes, but they're also playing with desperateness. And is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, playing desperate is a superpower. It can be an incredible factor for this Dallas team because these guys don't have much time left. You can add Duchesne, Tyler Myers as a UFA after this year too. So there's a lot of desperate guys on this Dallas team who have one more shot at this thing. Jake Ottinger, you can add him to the list too because if this doesn't work out, I think he needs to get a fresh restart because there's a lot of noise around him, not playing good in the playoffs. And this could be his time to finally quiet the noise and truly show us the goalie that he needs to be in the playoffs, that regular season goalie standard that he needs to keep. But going back to this desperate factor, teams that play desperate, just, it could go good or bad, granted, but sometimes they just have that compete level a little bit higher than the other team because of that desperateness, and I think that could be the factor here versus the Florida Panthers team, who are recent two-time winners. So I think that's an interesting factor to look in mentally. Do I think it'll make a difference? Yeah, I think so. But that's besides the point. I do like the fourth line of Dallas better. I also like their goaltending matchup better, and I do like the D-man better as well for Dallas. But we'll find out. Those are probably the worst predictions in the world besides my All-Star prediction. Maybe I called it. I think I had a few reasonable ones in there, but let me know what you think. Let me know if I'm just out of my mind. But I think the Utah Conference Finals is going to come true. But until then, thanks for watching. See you next time.